What's going on, guys? SMH Super Mario Hoops back with some more hoops. Today we're in part 3 of the 10-part series of what teams we should have in NBA 2K20. If you haven't checked out the first 2 videos yet, I encourage you to do that beforehand so that you're not confused or if your team's not here or whatever. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into the list then. The number 80 spot is going to go to the 2003-2004 Houston Rockets. This team had in a second year Yao Ming, who was an all-star. They also had Steve Francis at the point guard, who was still in his prime. They had Coutinho Mobley at shooting guard, and then they had Jim Jackson at the small forward. This team was 45-37 on the season, only got the 7th seed in the West, and lost 4-1 in the first round. But I feel like a Yao Ming, Steve Francis team would be really fun to use in 2K. At 79 on the list, we got the 1974-1975 Seattle Supersonics. This team had a dynamic duo of Fred Brown, downtown Fred Brown that is, and then also Spencer Haywood at the power forward position. Some of their other guys were not too bad at that time, like Slick Watts at the point guard position, Tal Skinner at small forward, Tom Burleson at center, and then Archie Clark off the bench were all pretty good role players. This team was 43-39, which is good for the 4th seed in the West, and they lost in the West semifinals 4-2, but Fred Brown and Spencer Haywood makes this a playable team in 2K. At number 78, we got the 1991-1992 Boston Celtics. This team had the big 3 from the 80s era of the Celtics, but they were older. And they weren't really the main guys in the team. Yeah, they were still pretty solid for the team, but the main guy on the team was Reggie Lewis. And this is kind of a team led by him. And this team really won 51 games and was good enough for the 2nd seed out east. They lost in the East semifinals 4-3. But I feel like it'd be cool to see a Reggie Lewis team on the Celtics. And it would also be pretty solid if you also had the big 3 still with him. At 77, we got the 1965-1966 St. Louis Hawks. This team was led by Lenny Wilkins at the point guard position. Also Richie Guerin, a solid scorer at shooting guard. And Cliff Hagan, a small forward, wasn't a bad scorer himself either, and a good rebounder. Bill Bridges at power forward, we already know he's basically a double-double guy. And then Zemo Beatty at center. This team's 6th man was also Joe Caldwell. And their record was 36-44, which somehow was the 3rd seed in the West. But in the playoffs, they actually made the Western Conference Finals and lost in 7. So their late season success kind of earns them a spot on this list. At number 76, we got the 1958-1959 New York Knicks. This team was led by Richie Guerin, who's already in 2K and was actually on the last team that we just mentioned. Kenny Sears was not bad, actually. He averaged 20 and 10 for this team. And Willie Knowles at small forward was a good rebounder as well. And then Carl Braun was just, a solid assist guy out there. He, played the traditional point guard role. And this team was 40-32, which is the 2nd seed out east. They lost in the East semifinals 2-0. But I think a team with Richie Guerin on it would kind of help inform some people about how good he was back in the day. And also Kenny Sears was not that bad either. So this team wouldn't be some slouch. At number 75, we're going to have the New Jersey Nets from 1983-1984. Michael Ray Richardson was a solid point guard on the team. And then Otis Birdsong was about a 10 to 15 point per game scorer. They also had Buck Williams, who was probably the best player on this team and was a beast with the Nets in his prime. And then Daryl Dawkins. We know Daryl Dawkins. He was super strong, an extremely great rebounder. And then to fill out the starting lineup, they had a small forward named Albert King, who wasn't too bad. 45-37 was their record. Only the 6th seed out east, but they got to the East semifinals, lost 4-2. But I think all around this team is not too bad. Michael Ray Richardson, Buck Williams, Otis Birdsong, and Daryl Dawkins are 4 well-known players. So I think we got to put them in 2K. At 74, we get the 1978-1979 Atlanta Hawks. This team had four really good players. I mean, Eddie Johnson was a solid scorer on this team. John Drew was also not that bad at the small forward position. And then Dan Roundfield was a really good rebounder at power forward. And then they had Tree Rollins down low as the rim protector. And then also Armin Hill was their starting point guard, who was, he was a solid quality guy, nothing crazy. But they were 46-36 in the season, 5th seed in the East. They lost in the East semifinals, 4 games to 3, so they were just 1 game from the Eastern Conference Finals. And I just kind of like these teams that people don't really know much about, that, weren't too bad success-wise, not too flashy. And I feel like this is definitely a team with Eddie Johnson, John Drew, Dan Roundfield. Not many people know those guys or talk about those guys, so I feel like it'd just be cool to have them added. At 73, we got the 1986-1987 Seattle Supersonics. This team had Nate McMillan at point guard, very solid defender and a good passer. They also had Dale Ellis at shooting guard, who was a 20-point-per-game scorer in his prime. Same could be said about Xavier McDaniel at the small forward position, and he was pretty solid, probably the best player on this team. Tom Chambers was a nice role player at power forward, probably one of the more well-known role players. And then also Alton Lister, kind of like Tree Rollins and the Atlanta Hawks in the last pick, but Alton Lister is also a good rim protector. And then Maurice Lucas, don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but he's really close if not. But he's off the bench, so he was a solid veteran. 39-43 for this team, 7th seed in the West. They were the 7th seed, but they got to the Western Conference Finals. They did get swept there, but I think a 7th seed that can get that far is pretty amazing. And their team was pretty loaded on paper, so we got to put them in. At number 72, we're going to have the Phoenix Suns from the 1999-2000 NBA season. The point guard position and the leader of this team was Jason Kidd. Then they also had Penny Hardaway playing the shooting guard spot, which is kind of weird for him because he's normally a point guard. At small forward, they actually had a really young Shawn Marion. And then at power forward, they had Cliff Robinson, who was, not too bad, mainly known for being off the bench, especially for those Portland teams and stuff. And then they had another veteran like Luke Longley at center. And their 6th man, Rodney Rogers, had been in the league for a while as well. Their record was 53-29, which was the 5th seed in the West. It was a pretty solid record. They got to the second round, where they eventually lost in the West semifinals, 4 games to 1. But a Phoenix Suns team with Jason Kidd, and you also got some other guys like Shawn Marion. I know he's on the other Suns team in 2K. And then you also have Penny Hardaway at the shooting guard spot. I just feel like it wouldn't be too hard to make this team, especially since everyone I just named is in 2K. So it'd be kind of fun to use. And at 71, we had the 2005-2006 Los Angeles Clippers. This would be a really fun team to use in 2K, and it really wouldn't be that hard to make. The backcourt, you got Sam Cassell and Cuttino Mobley, who are both already in the game, and we're both not that bad. Then, really, though, the leader of this team, the main guy on this team, was Elton Brand, who was like an all-NBA caliber player. And then they also had a few other solid players, like Corey Maggette was not bad at all. Chris Kaman at center was pretty good. He was pretty young at this time, though. And then also Quentin Ross was not too bad. 47-35, which is good for the 6th seed in the West. They made the West semifinals and lost in 7, 4 games to 3. But I think all around this team is better than a lot of the ones that I've named so far. It's better than some of the ones that are already in 2K. So I just don't understand why this team isn't in 2K already. In recent history, outside of all those Chris Paul, Blake Griffin teams, this is probably the best Clippers team. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content, because this is the type of content that I've been making. Also, if you remember from last episode, I said there's one more team left on this list that did not make the playoffs, and I did not mention them at all in this list. So you'll just have to keep watching to find out what that team is. Also, my social media pages, I have a Twitter and an Instagram for my YouTube account specifically. So those will be on the screen. You'll be able to see those. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed once again. And if you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. So I guess that's going to do it for me. And yeah, I'll see you later. Peace.